So, a judge out of the Fairfax County, Washington, D.C. area recently granted a request to remove all Caucasian judges from the walls, all of their portraits that are normally lined on the courtroom walls. As is normal in most courtrooms, they have pictures of judges on the walls. But in this particular case, the judge believes that having photos of white people on the walls, that implies a bias because the defendant is not white. And we're gonna jump right into this story. Make sure you follow me on Parler, on Rumble, and I just have to highlight the ridiculousness of liberals today, because why are you going into a courtroom looking at the walls? Why are you going into a courtroom in which you are the defendant, because the defendant's lawyer is the one that filed this motion and the judge granted it? And this really goes to show how much a lot of liberals want to be babied, because what does what's on the wall have to do with the case at hand? And notice how the basis of this decision stems from feelings. It's, oh, I don't want the defendant to feel like there's some sort of bias simply by the photos that are on the wall, the portraits of people that aren't even presiding over his case. Notice how the left wants to always have the basis of feelings. Feelings is where we start. We start at, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable with all these photos on the wall, and nobody's brown, nobody's black, no one's a different color. Everyone looks the same on the walls, which, you know, we have judges of all races. But the fact that they even thought that it made sense to make this decision, this sort of accommodation, it's silly. And I'm gonna go ahead and play the news story that really covered the whole incident. They go into detail on it. I'll put up on screen for you guys to see, because this was very odd. Like most things that the left suggests. Very odd precedents that they're always trying to set. But I digress. Let's get into it.
New today, a Virginia judge presiding over an upcoming criminal case ordered all pictures of white judges in a courtroom to be taken down. The Fairfax County judge says the defendant, who is black, would not have received a fair trial otherwise, sparking a new debate on bias in the courtroom. Fox Eye's Ike Giacchi joining us live now from Fairfax with more on this story. It's quite an unusual ruling from a judge, Ike.
Very.
No, it really is. Listen, earlier today, I spoke to a career attorney who spent over 20 years inside the Fairfax County Courthouse. He said he's never seen anything like this before, but that it's long overdue. Now, the only reason why this case was moved into the larger courtroom was so that it can safely fit everybody inside while still adhering to those COVID-19 safety measures like social distancing. However, as the Washington Post reports, and as you'll soon see, the only main difference between those two courtrooms are the pictures of the white judges inside.
Monday, Judge David Bernhard released this opinion over the case of Terrence Shipp Jr., a man scheduled to stand trial on January 4th for assault on a police officer, among other charges. In it, he orders all pictures in the courtroom to be taken down, claiming the portraits paint a picture of bias in a courtroom where a majority of the previous judges were white, all while a majority of the defendants are people of color. He states in part, quote, "The court is concerned the portraits may serve as unintended but implicit symbols that suggest the courtroom may be a place historically administered by whites for whites, and that others are thus of lesser standing in the dispensing of justice." We spoke to a career attorney who has spent over 20 years inside this courtroom. He's white and said he himself has never felt any kind of slight from the portraits, but acknowledges the reality that other people certainly may have different experiences.
Our judges, our prosecutors, our defense bar, our public defenders, our probation officers, we all need to think about what the ultimate goal of our judicial system is, and that is trust in the system. And when someone says, hey, I'm walking into this courtroom and I have a visceral reaction to all these portraits of these white men and women and a few black judges, but very few black judges on this bench over the last 50 years, that has to be addressed.
Now, also in his opinion, Judge Bernhard said, quote, perception is often deemed as reality to those participating in the justice system. Back to you.
These are just conversations we now have after so many things that have happened in 2020, Ike. Thank you. And
she was shaking her head like Goofy. And I'm shaking my head like Goofy as well. Because these sort of accommodations based on someone may feel a slight, notice the wording, we are making these sort of accommodations off of slights, off of something that could be offensive to somebody, and we cannot operate in a functional way as a society if this continues. And the thing is, the silliness of the left is they start these precedents and then they keep going with it. And then eventually it's gonna circle back around and affect you someday in a way. Someday there's gonna be someone that is gonna be from a different demographic than you that is gonna want unreasonable accommodations to be made for them because you open up the door for it with yourself. You see, that's what a lot of people on the left don't get. All of these little minute accommodations that aren't gonna matter in the grand scheme of things, because I don't know why that attorney said that trust in the justice system is the ultimate goal. I believe administering justice should be the ultimate goal of the justice system. Not necessarily trust in it. If they are being righteous in their decision making, it don't matter if you trust it or not, if they're truly being righteous. But that's just my personal take on it. It should be about administering justice. Is he guilty of these alleged charges? And that's what should be determined. He should have his due process. But we should not be worried about the photos on the wall. I don't like the decor of this courtroom, because it's just gonna get more and more silly, more and more based on someone's personal feelings. And see, we're gonna have people saying, well, you know what, Your Honor, I don't feel like I should be in jail. I don't feel like I should be in handcuffs. I don't feel like I should be, when are we gonna stop with all this? Okay, because somebody may feel a certain slight about some past history, and it's ridiculous, because what does all of that have to do with him and his present situation? What is all of this past historical history of mostly white judges presiding in this courtroom and mostly black defendants being in that particular courtroom? What does any of that have to do with the current case at hand? You see, that none of that is actually relevant to what's going on in his case. Your case is your own case. Their case has nothing to do with your case. So why are they bringing that up? But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Hit the like, share, subscribe button, and blessings to you.